How to get people to cooperate with you. Great topic, isn't it? When you're working on a project, there's nothing better than cooperation. It makes the work easier for everyone. It makes it all flow. It makes it possible to actually enjoy your success. Without cooperation, even if you're successful, it's no fun. This is Shar McBee, author of To Lead Is to Serve and Joy of Leadership. In this audio seminar, you will hear some of my favorite leadership stories that will help you create cooperation. They were recorded during 2 speeches I gave in New York. You'll also hear readings that will make your work easier. They come from ideas I've posted about cooperation on the Joy of Leadership blog. You'll also hear from people in the audience talking about how they will apply the information. Maybe they'll give you some ideas. All of them are in leadership positions, some in business, some in nonprofit organizations. Then it's your turn. A smart person listens to good advice. A successful person applies it. How will you apply the information and make it your own? After you've listened, if you want more help with your leadership skills or your nonprofit marketing, go to my website, joyofleadership.com. Okay, let's get started. The astronauts tell us that on their way to the moon, 89% of the time they were off track. And all they did was make little adjustments, corrections, tiny little movement, tiny little thing, and it made it possible to reach the moon. What we're going to talk about tonight is very simple, very small things. They won't take any extra time. It won't take you any money to do it, but it can make a really big difference in your life as a leader or your life in general. I promise you. I guarantee it. Once I was working with someone and the work was getting more and more difficult. Not because we couldn't do the job, but because we just couldn't click. We both cared about the project, but we were grating on each other, getting on each other's nerves so often that the work wasn't moving forward. I went to talk to my friend, Sister Mary Margaret. Sister Mary Margaret is not only a nun, she's a classical concert pianist. She loves music, studies it, thinks about it. She likes to contemplate how music relates to the grander scheme of our lives. She says music can teach us a lot about how to get along with people. That day, this is what she told me. When you feel at odds with someone, think of it as musical notes. An E and an F sharp are dissonant. If you play the 2 notes at once, it's jarring. So, metaphorically speaking, if you are an E and the other person an F sharp, you will feel naturally unharmonious. However, within every musical note is a matrix of all the other notes. Play an E on the piano, then continue to hold the key down and you can hear it. After a while, you begin to hear other notes as well. Somewhere in the matrix of the note E is a note which harmonizes with F sharp. Sister Mary Margaret says it's the same with us. When we feel dissonant, try to relax and find another note. Somewhere inside there's something somehow that can harmonize with that other person. Anyway, I took her advice and it worked. It made the project easier. We were not naturally in tune or in sync, as they say, but it smoothed out the edges. How do you empower people? Treat them with respect and make them feel connected. People want to be respected and they want to feel connected. It's a big challenge to you as the leader because you do feel connected. When you walk in, you know people, you know where to go, there are people that you can talk to. And it's just amazing how many longtime employees you could have who still don't feel included. They don't feel like they're part of things. Do you remember the first time you ever baked cookies? Maybe you've never baked cookies. The first time I baked cookies, I was a young bride, and I call it during the granola days. Everybody was trying to be real healthy, so I bought brown sugar, whole wheat flour, all these like organic raisins and nuts, and I went out and I got all these good things. So my husband was in the living room with his tennis buddies, and I was in the kitchen mixing up the cookie dough. I put it all, I got it all together, and I put these little dollops on the cookie tray and put it in the oven. 10 minutes went by. The whole house filled up with this fragrance of cookies baking. There's a lot of anticipation about the cookies. Pulled it out of the oven. Soup. I forgot the flour. Now, I used to think that an outstanding leader was like the cherry on the top of the cake. And what I've learned is that a really outstanding leader is more like the flower. Like you're the one who makes other people feel connected and included. People feel happiest when they feel they belong. And people always come up to me and they say that. And the challenge, I think, to the leader is that you do feel so connected. You know where you belong and what to do when you're there. And you don't notice, these valuable, like I got all these organic ingredients. I bought this really expensive stuff, but it didn't do any good because there was nothing holding it together. And it's the same thing. So many organizations, you have these incredible people, each one a gem, something really valuable, but unless they're held together, and a really good leader is the person who can make people hold together. And if you have two people, if the connection is really strong, then you can get more. But if you could have 100 people, if they're not connected, like me, I had all that really good ingredients, but it wasn't connected. I had no cookies. And you have no organization unless they're connected and people feel comfortable and part of the whole. There was a man who came to one of my seminars. His name's Jerry Van Camp. He's an airline pilot, and he was the president of the Pilots Union. And they had been debating for a long time on trying to come to an agreement on their contract. Nothing was happening. It just wasn't happening. They hadn't been able to get, and they'd been negotiating. Nothing was happening. He came to the seminar where we talked about this idea of appreciating what you have. If you can't get what you want, then stop looking out there for it and start looking at what you actually do have and appreciating it, taking really good care of it. We also talked at that seminar that he came to about if you're trying to attract something, are you attracted to this situation, to the room, to the, is the place attractive? He came to that seminar, and after we talked about that, he went back that night. And it turns out they had been having all their meetings in the Pilots Union lounge, in the Pilots Lounge, where they smoked, drank coffee, left their cups, their cigarettes all over. The pilots left their newspapers just lying. The place was filthy. And they'd been meeting for months in this filthy room. And after he heard that, he went home, got his vacuum cleaner, went down to the Pilot's Lounge, vacuumed, cleaned everything, rearranged all the furniture, and put fresh flowers there. And the next morning, they made an agreement. Appreciate what you have. Take good care of what you have, and it will attract more, whether it's people, things, equipment, rooms, whatever it has. That it's the law of attraction, that if you appreciate what you have, you'll attract more.